What's up, y'all? Welcome to Chop It Up. We are going to be talking about the NBA draft today. I got my brother Jeff, my brother Ange. This whole concept of From the Garage comes from the sports takes we had in here. And the whole concept was like, hey, let's bring that garage feel and that garage ball talk to the world. So we decided to sit down with the draft, seeing that we love college ball, and, you know, get it out there for you guys.
Chop it up.
Chop it up. Chop it up number 2. That picture. Have you ever seen the picture of the three white kids at the table, and it's like, who won the Drake and Kendrick beef?
Oh, yes.
Dude, I finally got my first hate comments. Me and Eddie got our first hate comments on the wrestling podcast.
Just didn't like your takes?
Oh, no, yeah. I just got one today, and it was like, we need to stop letting people start podcasts. And I just responded with, I've been saying this. And you know what his response was? You know what? I'm going to follow. That's how you win.
Hey, that's how you win.
That is how you win.
Nothing brings people together quite like hatred.
Oh, I love hate. I'm a hater.
I'm a big fan of all the podcasts you do. And I think you're better on screen than behind the scenes. Because behind the scenes, you know, it's not the same.
No, it's not.
Because when you're on screen, I think that's when we get your best content.
Victory. I'll cut that out. But I agree completely. I used to not want to be talent. I used to be like, no, I'll be the guy behind the scenes, and I won't be on camera, but I feel so comfortable. It's so fun.
I think being able to do both kind of gives you good perspective on both.
Oh, 100%. I think my first couple months doing all the behind-the-scenes stuff made doing this now so much easier. And it made that first game I called easier.
Yeah.
It reminds me of, like, former players as coaches.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like, you know, you've been in it, you've done it before. So when I tell you this, it's coming from a place of experience. It's not me preaching at you. It's me saying, this is what I would be thinking in this situation that you're in.
Yeah. Go watch Dill's Thunder show, and you'll see what I'm saying. He's obviously very bright, but when he was locked in, it was... That was a great show. I thought you did great.
Mom made pizza rolls.
What was the video game where there was takeover mode? And when you were in takeover mode, you were just like a completely
NBA
different...
Was that NBA Street?
Takeover mode?
I think it was more modern than that. You went into like takeover mode, and you just went crazy. Maybe it was NBA Street.
I think it was NBA Street. Well, with all that
you know
being
what I'm
said,
talking about? There was like a bar.
Yeah, once you
Get
reach
your bar
takeover...
filled up.
Yeah, I think that's it's like NBA
Oh my
and NFL
gosh.
Street, right?
It's gonna drive me crazy.
That's gonna drive me crazy.
And then you can run up the wall and nobody could tackle you. Are you sure that's not it?
Dude, it was NFL Street. I think you're right.
We
like,
get there.
You couldn't be stopped, and you were like making
Yeah.
these crazy catches and stuff.
Yeah.
That's a good segue
See, now-
to the NBA draft.
That is that's a crazy. Well, because it was in NBA Street too. Because remember when
Yeah.
you would do the game where you have to like go and you beat somebody and you take their best player and you like progress through the story. I think
Right.
that's where that comes from.
See, we're spoiled nowadays because you have to face people online to want to play. But back then, playing the computer was like, you're going down, sucker.
Dude, I'll
Like,
never
I'm coming
forget
for
us
it.
playing like Hall of Fame 5 players on 2K and just trying to win an NBA championship. It was impossible. And now I don't feel anything unless I have a triple-double in the rec.
Yeah,
If
but-
I have anything less than a dub-dub in the rec, I am angry.
But once you're in a higher level, too, you don't even know. You're probably being destroyed by a 12-year-old
Oh,
kid.
100%.
You know? And
No.
it's-
Yeah, no, it's sad.
Speaking of 12-year-old kids, my worst draft for the 2025 draft will be the New Orleans Pelicans. And hear me out. So, Jeremiah Fierce, he looks like he just graduated from 7th or 8th grade. The kid looks like a baby. And I think down the road, he's going to be a fine NBA player. Like, in Oklahoma, he had some nights where it was like, oh my gosh, this kid's going to be special. But I think the fit for the Pelicans was just not the right fit. I think if he would have went to a Nets or maybe a Suns where he can just take the reins and become the guy, it would have generated better. But I don't know if he's going to be this great passer. I think he might just be a score first smaller guard. And I mean,
actually, there's a score for smaller guard on the New York Knicks who just took his team to the East Conference Finals.
yeah,
I'm not a Jeremiah Fears guy. I had to do the smaller scoring guard thing because everyone does that to me.
yeah.
But I had the Pelicans on my pretty bad list. Why'd you trade up for Derek Queen?
That's why they're probably the loser, because you just gave the Hawks a top 5, top 10 pick.
I'm happy that this is the team that came up first in the episode, because this is going to be a theme I think we're going to talk about the whole time, is how many teams did counterproductive things, doubled up at certain positions, even tripled up at some positions. It's just like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You're picking in the lottery. You have multiple guards. All the moves you've made in the offseason have loaded up your backcourt, and then you go and take that guy. And a fit thing, and I was talking to you that night, it's like you just traded for Jordan Poole. You have Deontay Murray. And it's just like the moves don't match up. So to take Fears when you've got a loaded up backcourt, and you can see it on Fears' face. It's like, I just went number 7 to New Orleans to sit behind Deontay Murray and Jordan Poole. And if I go one pick later to Brooklyn, the whole course of my career is different.
Yeah.
If he goes one pick later to Brooklyn, we're talking about a top 5 dynasty player for the people that play like keeper leagues and basketball.
Yeah.
And you can just see it on his face. And the same thing with Derek Queen. It's just like, can you think of a worse fit in a front court than having Zion Williamson and Derek Queen in the same front court?
You make a good point, because if they stay at 23, they could have gotten Asa Newell. And what's the gap between Derek Queen and Asa Newell, really? Because Asa Newell is a defending big that can score. Derek
What was
Queen
the
is a
gap
scorer.
between like 10 to 25 in this draft? It was all the same, it felt like.
Don't forget Maluach.
my
Maluach
God,
went 10.
yeah.
And you take Fears. It's just like,
There was so much wrong. But you brought up the Nets. I think they had the worst draft, bar none.
yeah.
I don't think they had a single pick that I would grade above a D+. Or
Yeah.
like Igor Demon at 8? And then I think you texted this to the group chat. 19, 22, 26, and 27, they could have picked in any order, and no one was picking any of them.
Yeah.
That was so bad. And, like, what does Igor Demon do for a team that's this far behind?
I'm excited for when we should do a show a year from now on this day
100%.
and look at the progress of each of these players. Because Igor, he had the promise. I don't know if you guys remember at BYU that he was like the talk where it's like, dang, they got a top 5 guy here at BYU. And I'm pretty sure he shot under 30% from 3. In the tournament, he shot almost like 20% from 3. He's a big guy that can play make, but
Oh, Killian Hayes. How many times are we going to do this?
Ooh.
Like, how many times are we going to do this with Killian Hayes, Ben Simmons? Ben Simmons had a great start, but I'm talking about like these like 6'7" guards who just can't shoot, but they can lock up and pass so well.
got a couple of
It's like,
those.
I feel like every draft there's like 3 of them taken in the top 10, and they're like, the potential's there. There's such a good chance of him becoming this guy, and it's like, dude, there's a 90% miss rate on these big guards that can't shoot.
Igor aside, because say you want to gamble on a guy that you think has future upside, which we can't deny that Igor has some future upside, but to take him at 8, and let's not forget, they had 5 first-round picks. So when we're calling them a loser, it's not just because of Igor. We're talking Nolan Trier at 19. We're talking Ben Seraph at 26. And I like the Danny Wolf pick at 27.
No,
I
so
can
do
live
I.
with that. They gave him kind of a draft promise. And that's why he and the family, if you guys saw the footage, they were really like emotional that night. It's because Brooklyn has promised us that they're going to pick us. And Seraph goes off the board. Traore goes off the board. Some of these wild out there names go off, and it's just like, am I really going to be the 5th guy that they pick out of these 5 first-round picks?
But also, like, you were in college for 5 years. Like, you were a 5-year guy. What's your ceiling? Because this isn't like a 5-year guy like Terrence Shannon, where he, like, was the head of the monster at Illinois, right? And you saw out there like, oh, he has NBA promise. I feel like when I watched Danny Wolf, I was like, man, this guy's going to be one of those name pulls of like Michigan centers in 5 years. Like, that's how I always looked at him. But then I was watching some of his tape. Dude, he had a move where he did a half spin into a step back 3, and I was like, see, if you can bring that to the league, they're never going to let him. But also, it's Brooklyn.
Yeah.
They can do whatever they want because they mean nothing. And I'm saying that disrespectfully.
Wolf
Yeah.
is also a multiple-time Ivy League Player of the Year. Like, we can't only judge him based off of that Michigan year.
Yeah. The one thing I'll say before we move on to the next team is Nolan Traore. He's an older prospect, so I think he might surprise us. I think he can be good. It's the problem with it is that you drafted Igor and Danny, who need the ball to produce. Like, these guys are playmakers. They're not, in the corner shooters. All 3 of these picks are guys that need the ball to produce. So I'm with you, man. I didn't care for this draft, literally.
I agree completely. Who's your loser of the draft?
Well, both of the ones that you guys put out there were 2 that stood out for me. But for me, I'm gonna have to go with Toronto, and this cost Masai Ujiri his job, and I think he had to kind of talk to his bosses after the draft and kind of reflect on what happened, and they're just like, Masai, what is your fascination with 6'6" to 6'8" forwards? Help me out on the
Colin
name.
Murray Boyles,
You take Colin Murray Boyles, and his face and his reaction to his pick tells you all you need to know about that pick. He's just like, oh, wow, I'm so excited that I just got picked number 9 overall to go be the 5th forward for the Toronto Raptors. And I think Masai getting forced out of that job after all the success he's had in Toronto says a lot about that selection. Look at some of these names that went after that would have been a better fit for them. Maluach goes the next pick.
Imagine that team with Maluach instead of
Sorber.
Oh, no, Pirtle's gone, right?
Even Kasparas, Jakucionis, we talked about him a lot, and he's not a perfect player by any means, but there's a line between drafting for fit and taking best available, and I just feel like that pick did neither of those things.
Yeah.
It's just another example like we talked about at the top of the show. It's just counterproductive moves that we saw. Teams with bigs taking more bigs, teams with guards taking more guards, teams with forwards taking more forwards. It's just like, come on, man, you're trying to build an entire roster here.
But it's the thing where the NBA, where when a team wins a championship, everyone tries to copy the formula rather than build it on their own. And everyone just saw the Thunder with a ton of guards, a ton of wings, 10 deep. Both the teams in the finals, the Pacers and Thunder, were 10 players deep at wing, forward,
I get that.
and guard.
I get that
with 2 centers.
The issue though with this pick is it's another guy that is that size, but he can't shoot, and like he needs. It's going to be tough to see if he can develop the jumper. But at South Carolina, this kid was special. Like he was killing dudes in the SEC, which was tough. But he wasn't killing them with a jumper. He was killing them with being the big man at 6'7", and it's just like, I don't know if that's going to work in the NBA.
And sure, you have the wings that we're talking about. We're talking about Scotty Barnes, we're talking about RJ Barrett, and we're talking about Brandon Ingram.
All need the ball in their hands so much.
A lot of and which one of them is like the 3-point shooter one? None of them. So even look at 2 picks later.
Oh, God, it's Brandon Ingram.
2 picks later, if you're in love with forwards and you want to take another one and you want to gamble on some upside at number 9 overall, just take Cedric Howard.
Yeah.
At least he's going to go get buckets for you. He can stretch the floor. He can do some of those things.
I will say about the Raptors, though, their second-round pick, they got Elijah Martin from Florida.
Love it.
Elijah Martin's a dog, and I'm rooting for him. I hope he can carve something out in the NBA. You know, he might be a G League legend.
Dude.
But yeah, watch out for him. If he can get a chance, he that kid's an athlete.
No,
I mean,
I agree completely. Yeah. He's dope. Speaking of like that second round, I feel like the second round was really good this year.
It was
really good.
Yeah.
But also I think it's because how tapped in we were on college ball this year.
Oh man, yeah.
I think that has a lot to do with it. Yeah. And with that being the last team, I'm gonna take the first one, and I'm gonna have to tip my cap, and I'm gonna give the Hawks my winner of the draft. Me and this guy have battles over the Knicks Hawks, but the moves you guys made, and I'm going to include the Porzingis trade in this. Okay. Because wasn't it the same day?
Same couple days. It was a part of the draft process. We gave up the 22nd pick in the Kristaps trade, which they went with Drake Powell, which I didn't love that pick. He's going to be a fine player, but that was another part of Brooklyn's success that we didn't care for.
I love the Hawks trading with the Pelicans again. The Pelicans are just igniting your refuel.
We love them.
They're igniting your rebuild. Because you guys were supposed to rebuild. We had this talk where it's like, are you guys going to go win, or are you guys going to try to rebuild? Like, is it a trade year? What's going to happen? And then Kristaps gets sold for a bag of peanuts. Yeah. And it's like, yes, I get it. I get what he looked like in the playoffs. But if he can get back to 70% of the player he was on the championship team, that's so big for them. If he can catch the lobs from Tre Young, and Tre Young makes a center's life easier.
Yes.
And then you go get the guy you wanted, Asa Newell, there's no way he should have dropped to 23.
The only reason he dropped to 23 is because the one team that had promised him a first-round selection is the team that traded back from 13 to 23 and got an additional first-round pick next year, which was the Atlanta Hawks.
Dude, just such a beautiful work of art from your guys' draft.
Yeah.
That was like, I have to clap.
I have a quick story real quick because I'm the diehard Hawks fan here. The Hawks have had GM after GM that have just been terrible decision makers, and they follow, what the owners want to do. And they went outside the box. They hired a law firm to hire their new GM. The new GM they brought in, Ansi, he has already changed the landscape of the team with these moves. And I'm just overly excited because now we're already tapped in on college ball. I'm going to be extra tapped in because we might have number 1 pick because shout out to Joe Dumars. You're one of the worst GMs in the history of the game, so you just keep trading with the Hawks, man. I love
Hey,
that,
man,
so.
he got the Pistons a title in like '04.
Yeah.
But masterful work by the Hawks there. And like you said, like, you guys having a real GM now, like, it's going to be so fun for you guys. I don't... The East is open. That's what my point was going to be.
Yeah.
The East is so wide open with no Tatum, Halliburton, and then somebody else is out for a season in the
Embiid,
East.
probably.
Embiid probably. Like, I think the top 3 teams in the East before that trade were the Knicks, the Cavs, and the Magic.
Yeah.
Before the season started, me and my friends were doing predictions, and I had Magic Knicks in the Eastern Conference Finals. But
Right.
after the draft and what the Hawks did, dude, we might get a Knicks-Hawks Eastern Conference Finals, and me and you will not be friends for a week and a half.
I'm excited
And
for that.
whoever loses is just going to hate the next month.
Yeah. And speaking of the Eastern Conference being wide open, my winner, I'm going to probably go with Charlotte. I think Charlotte, they had a identity draft this draft. I feel like they've been going for upside picks for a long time now. Besides for LaMelo, like last year they drafted the kid from overseas. He was just a freak athlete. They've been going freak athlete. This year they went against that by going with Knippel, who, I mean, obviously is an athletic kid, but he is a type of player that every team needs. You need a guy like, he's first of all the best shooter in this draft.
Not even close.
You got the best shooter in the draft. He's not going to miss a free throw. He can play the entire game. You got a Duke project here. Yeah, I mean, he just learned from John Shire. I mean, this kid's special. He's also got 4 brothers coming in, so we're going to be seeing a lot of nipples coming in.
A lot of areola.
Areolas. They also got Liam McNeely came in as a top 10 prospect. And, I mean, he's got great size. He battled a lot of injuries last year, and he still is one of the best players in the Big East. Watch out for Liam McNeely becoming a good rotation piece. And then getting the cock monster in the second round. He is going to start at center as a second round
Are
pick.
you guys ready for caulk and ball torture?
Dude, cock and ball torture is coming. Watch out for the Hornets. And they also got Sion James from Duke, who's maybe the best guard defender in the draft.
Who's been that second unit ball handler for Charlotte since they got LaMelo? Like, I couldn't tell you who that
Micic.
guy is.
I think it was Micic.
Yeah,
And he had moments, and it
Trey Man.
just goes to show.
It's Trey Man.
The role has value.
The Allen
so.
Iverson double. I
Got the shorts going.
love Trey Man. He was he literally looks like AI. But yeah, no, getting Knippel was like one of the most fascinating prospects in this draft to me, because it's like you have freak athletes like Cooper Flagg, VJ Edgecombe, Ace Bailey, Tre Johnson, and then it's like, is he better than some of these guys? Because like you watch him at Duke, and it's like you said, it's just like it's the typical thing: first guy in, last guy out. He plays the game the right way, but he dives for every loose ball.
Right.
He claps in people's faces on defense. Like, he's an annoying Duke guy through and through, and you need that. And the Hornets need that, because the Hornets have this like weird identity crisis where they're just like this fun young team and they don't take the game seriously.
Rec ball.
NBA. It's literally like watching the rec. I've seen so many, like, do you remember their biggest moment of the year? I'm going to do that video in like a week or so. Was when they beat the Lakers after they rescinded the Mark Williams trade. And it was just like, oh man, this is what the rec looks like, throwing lobs to Mark Williams, step back threes. Like, this team can be so fun.
Right.
And now you get at least one guy who's going to play right away, and Knippel, that's going to go out there and hit an open three. He can take a little bit of the ball handling off of LaMelo's shoulders for like, hey, I'm going to go get my own bucket, because I don't think there's anybody other than Trey Man on the Hornets who's been able to go get their own bucket. Bridges is a guy who slashes to the basket. Like, they've created this thing around LaMelo where it's like you have to do everything to get these guys going. Now you have someone who can kind of do it on their own or sit in the corner and get that pass from LaMelo.
Yeah, and he's gonna. They got a second-year coach now. Watch them take a spot in the playoffs this year.
Talked about how wide open the East is.
Yeah.
Why not them? If we look at that roster, if healthy, it's just like, hey, wait a minute.
That's a play-in team that can sneak to that 7 or 8 seed.
Because LaMelo and Bridges, it's been an uphill battle. So.
But the question is will you guys ever play any defense? And it feels like that was in mind. But look what they just did by taking Cockrenner. Cockrenner's a multiple-time Defensive Player of the Year guy in the Big East, and say what you want about the Big East right now, but This is a staple down low. He's an adult in the room that they really need. I bet age-wise, he's right there with some of these young guys. Is he even younger than LaMelo Ball?
I think he
They're
might be
probably
the
similar
same
age.
age.
I think everybody they drafted besides McNeely and Knippel is grown men. Like Sion James is an older guy too, and I just
transfer guy.
So yeah, I'm excited for them. It's but they also, I don't know if you guys saw, they got investigated by the NBA because they've missed the playoffs for 9 straight seasons. And they're kind of just saying, hey, you guys need to do something or else we're going to make you sell. So I think this was a good step in there.
That's a good segue into my winner. I like the Charlotte one a lot, but talking about the balance between bringing in some young guys with a ton of upside and some older guys with a little bit of experience, I'm going to do it. The Utah Jazz.
Yeah.
The Utah Jazz take Ace Bailey at 5. There's a lot of stuff comes out. He doesn't want to go there. Who does want to go to Utah? If you're a big-time prospect like Ace Bailey, you obviously want to go to a big market and stuff. But we saw a previous guy that didn't want to go to Utah, and I think things have turned out pretty well for him, talking about Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah.
So you get Ace Bailey at 5.
You don't have to remind me that the Knicks picked Frank Ntilikina over Donovan Mitchell.
We won't get into it.
You don't have to do that to me.
But, I mean, it's a great fit. We've talked about a lot of counterproductive picks, and the betting favorite going into the draft at the number 5 pick was Fierce. And it's just like, how many point guards in a row are you guys going to take? You've got Collier, you've got George, you've got all these guards that you've been taking over and over again. And we have a new decision maker in Utah, and Danny Ainge's son, Austin Ainge. So for his first draft, leave by taking a guy with as much upside as anybody in Ace Bailey, and then you go get Walter Clayton, adult in the room, 3-point shooter, guard. Say what you want about his defense, but it's just a good guy to have in your building. And then follow that up in the second round with one of our favorites in college basketball last year, Tanji from Wisconsin. Is just like, gosh, look at that draft. And I know it's kind of name brand heavy or whatever you want to call it, but that's 3 guys that can go get a bucket for you.
Yeah.
And their defense is going to be a thing outside of Walker Kessler down low, but I think that's a really fun draft for Ainge in his first draft.
The big thing with me was everyone was like, when the Ace Bailey not wanting to go to Utah thing came out, it's like, Ace, all you want to do is take sidestep fadeaway middies. And when you look at the top picks, the top teams in this draft, you have the Mavs, who already have a primary ball handler, and superstar in Anthony Davis. I don't care what you think about him. He is a superstar.
Yeah.
You have the Spurs, who have Wemby, De'Aaron Fox, and they go get Dylan Harper. It's like, okay, the 76ers already have guys that need the ball in their hand. And the Hornets, when you looked at this top 6, the only 2 teams where you were going to go be able to take whatever shot you want and not get sat was Washington and Utah.
Yeah.
So it's like, I get you want to go to Washington over them, but also Utah's in the best chance to get you to be the number 1 option and be good. Like, I know the West is really tough, but this team has been Danny Ainge. Man, it's like the devil and the Antichrist with Danny Ainge and his son. They are if you go try to trade with them, you're gonna give up 2 extra firsts.
Yeah.
So why not go to a team to where they are gonna go get value for their picks or their trades that they're gonna make, or they've built this defense, like this offensive monster with Walker Kessler standing in the middle. So now your starting lineups, what? You have Lauri Markkanen, Walker Kessler, any of those guards, Ace Bailey,
Collier,
George, and then
we're missing another guard.
Colin Sexton.
Well, they have him too. Again, just another guard.
So, but like that's what I'm saying. You have this guard. You have 3 really good guards that are going to start for you that can give you the ball that aren't offensive monsters. I don't think any of those guys are going to go get you 30 a night. Ace, you're going to be the number 1 option on an NBA team.
Yeah, and you're upset about going to Utah, so at this point now, you're shooting to go take your stock to the moon when it's time for that second contract.
Right.
And looking in that top 10, which environment do you want to be in that helps you get that next huge contract? Utah's right there, like you said, with Washington, is the best place to go boost your stock before you go to that big market for that big deal for your second contract.
I agree. But we're gonna do a big surprise, and I think my biggest surprise, and it might be a little homery because I am a closet Illinois guy, but Kasparas Jakucionis falling to 20, I think it's absolutely ridiculous. And Miami Heat, that I don't know of better developmental team to get Kasparas. I mean, I watch him become Goran Dragic right-handed. I think that's the upside.
At 6'6".
Dude,
Yeah,
and that's what I'm saying. If that's your upside, think about Goran's biggest problem was how small he is.
Yeah.
And now you get him at 6'6", and arguably can become a better defender. I think that's the biggest question mark on Jaku. He was my favorite player in the draft. I remember I was in Yosemite during this draft. I didn't get to watch any of it. Thank God. I would have been freaking out.
It was a weird one.
But you guys were like, yeah, Jaku hasn't went yet. And I'm looking at the teams that passed on him. Like
Minnesota. I was so
you need
shocked.
a guard so bad. Or like even the Spurs, get a backup guard for De'Aaron Fox. Or the Bulls. You don't have anything. Go get somebody who's going to move the ball around if you're going to go move Lonzo. Because I think Kasparas' upside is Lonzo. Just on offense. Defense, he needs to get there. He's a little foot slow. But offensively, he finds every open guy. He's a shooter. He's probably the third best shooter in this draft.
Yeah.
I think. And the fact that he dropped to 20 because of arguably athleticism and defense when a bunch of these teams that passed on him needs guards. Like you said, the Timberwolves. Imagine if he would have went to the T-Wolves. Oh, man. Oh, I can't believe he fell that
Guess
far.
they're rolling with Dusty Mike Conley again at point guard, and Nikhil Alexander-Walker is ready to leave the building and go sign somewhere else. So what are you doing at guard?
Right.
There better be some big trade in the distance that we don't know about that they're planning on to give Anthony Edwards some help.
Because Dante DiVincenzo can't be your starting point guard in the Western Conference Finals.
Right.
He just cannot be that.
No, and he's a trade candidate. They're gonna have to shed some money.
I'll take him.
I won't be surprised.
I'll take him back.
I won't be
It might be,
surprised.
but yeah,
He
just
was
watch
only
out.
good.
He'll probably be involved in this huge McCall Bridges 3-team trade that's coming up here in a couple of weeks.
You know,
Yeah.
I was talking to somebody about it. If we go get a Giannis or we go build something, is it okay to lose those 5 picks on McCall if you go and flip him for something that's worth 5 picks? Like, I was talking to someone because they're like, you guys gave up so much trade capital for McCall. And I'm like, yeah, but he also won us the series against Boston.
Sure.
So if you go do that and you flip him for something like that, I think it works that out. My biggest shock in the draft, I have it on my jersey. Hansen at 16 is crazy. Listen, the tape looks awesome.
Yeah, he looks like
he wasn't
looks like a
on
monster.
anyone's draft board, dude.
Second round.
You could have traded back to the pick 45, and you could have got him during the Taco Bell commercial, just like Jokic.
Right.
Like this guy wasn't on anyone's board. Why get him at 16? Do what the Hawks did. Move back. No one was going to take him in the first round. There was probably a team in the second round you had to be scared of, right? But go get that second round, the first pick of the second round. Go get another pick or another first round pick and second round pick for the team that wants to trade up to 16. That could have taken Jaku. That could have taken Walter Clayton over the Jazz. Like you didn't do anything with this pick.
There
I
were
don't
a
think
lot
you
of
guys
good
got
bigs
better because they're in no man's land as a team.
Yeah.
They have nothing to build around. Like, and I think it was is it Marks? Who's the bald draft guy that's not Jay Billis that everyone talks about? Oh, he was like,
Bobby Marks?
Bobby Marks is at the NBA Combine. He tweeted, "I just saw the future of the NBA," and he was talking about Yang Henson's spin move fadeaway, and it's like, dude. I understand he models his game after Jokic, and you're trying to redo that, but there's one Jokic ever. Who knows if he's going to get there? That'd be cool, but 16th pick, you're going to pick someone who's in the crowd, not even the green room?
You trade Simons and you don't really replace them with a Kasparas, who I think would have been perfect there. I'm with you, man. It was weird. I think he could be fine. It's just you have Klingon.
You just took Klingon in the top, what was it? He's like the 5th or 6th pick or something
Yeah.
like that.
He was a
last
top
year's
5.
draft.
I think he was a top 5 pick.
Yeah.
You still have Ayton on your roster. You still have Time Lord on your roster. Obviously,
love
he's
the
going to
Time
get
Lord.
moved, but it feels so counterproductive. And I said at the beginning it was going to be a theme. And that leads right into mine for a surprise that just doesn't match up with some of the other moves that the team has made. And it's hard, and I might come off like a little bit of a hater here. I did not like the Jace Richardson pick for Orlando. You are obviously in win now mode, and if the Desmond Bane trade doesn't prove that, then I don't know what does. To go take a 6'1" winger is just like, why?
Yeah.
How does that fit? That feels like a future move. And granted, you're picking at 25. It's not like you're going to come get some star guy, and who knows, but we saw some like legit older guys like Tanji that we mentioned, and some of these legit big time volume scorers.
McNeely's
that you could have
available.
got.
Danny Wolf's available if you want to. They're big as Baditse and Wendell Carter.
I just don't love it, and I
thought they
made the
should've went big,
joke.
too.
I made the joke draft night. It was just like, oh, they traded Cole Anthony, so we've got to go get our small guard whose dad was in the NBA to replace that. And it's just like, good job. You had a first-round pick, and you played a guy that if everything goes well for you, he probably isn't even playing that much.
See, I've seen a lot of people say that he was one of their favorite picks in the draft, and I just don't think they really know the player that well.
Name brand. You love the name brand. You love that you recognize that name.
Yeah.
And he had success in Michigan State. He's a really fun player. But again, we're talking about a non-point guard that's really small that is just going to have a hard time, I think, having a lot of success
To play
in the NBA.
devil's advocate, though, after pick 23, you're kind of just going future unless you're going old. And I think that they think they're good enough right now to not need the pick in this draft to help them this year.
What have you done, though? What have you done to think you're in a position that we don't need this number 25
The East is
pick?
wide open, and you just traded for Desmond Bane. You think Paolo and Franz are going to take that next step, and you still have Jalen. You got to retain all your core. You lost KCP, who you threw so much money at, and he sucked. Right. You lose Cole Anthony, who at his best is a seventh man.
What is Jace Richardson? If Jace Richardson's upside to me is Cole Anthony. So it's just like, if everything goes perfectly, you've got a guy that you just included as a throw-in in a trade to go get a real difference maker. And Cockburner went 7 picks later.
My question would be, are they expecting him to be a point guard?
They better.
Yeah,
because how's it going for Bronny James as a 6'1" non-point guard? Where's your role?
That's why I agree
57th
with you.
pick in the draft, but that's
I
the
get what you're
difference.
saying.
That only makes my point
no,
strong.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
agree. Yeah, I'm with
I do want to do one more segment before we're done. I want you guys to tell me who you think is going to be the best player in this draft that's not in the top 5.
Sure.
Because I think easily we all go Cooper Flag, duh. But I think not in the top 5. Who do you think will be the best player in this draft?
Okay, so I'll start it off. There are a lot of guys in this draft I love. I think this was one of the more underrated drafts in quite some time. I wish he would have went to a different team, but if Chet Holmgren gets hurt again, I think Thomas Sorber could be a dominant force down there. He has everything you need. The only reason he fell is he has a small foot thing going. I feel like every big man, they say that coming into the draft, they always have a foot thing.
Mm-hmm.
He at Georgetown, that Georgetown team has been embarrassing for years. And last year they turned the corner. They still had a losing season, but because of his production, this kid's going to be a stud. And if it's going to take an injury, so I wish he would have went somewhere else. But watch out for Tom Sorber for sure.
I like that. I think I'm gonna go Maluach. I think he landed in the perfect landing spot where he can be a day one starter. They don't have a big.
They traded for Mark Williams same night.
Oh yeah, I forgot. But I just think his build.
And he'll get hurt.
Mark Williams will get hurt. There's a reason.
He can't pass physicals.
There's a reason the Lakers rescinded that trade. But I think Maluach has the build and is on a team where he's going to have all the opportunity. Mark Williams will not stay healthy. They needed bigs. Their bigs this year, Nurkic was awful.
Yeah.
He was probably the worst starting center.
Iguodala was bad. They struggled at center.
And
I love the pick.
I think this pick, I just think him and Devin Booker, it looks like they're never going to give up on Devin Booker. He may be a Sun for life. Yeah. And if you're going to do that, you need to go get guys like this to build around him. I don't love the return on the KD trade at all, but if you get Jalen Green to flip him for a wing or a point guard, then I like it. Right? Or if you flip Dylan Brooks for something, we'll see how that goes. But I just think this pick for them with Mark Williams' health, everyone was saying like they just trade for Mark Williams. Why? It's like, well, because Mark Williams looks like he has 4 years left on his career based off the Lakers rescinding that trade.
All right. I'm going to take a guy just on a technicality, just because you said who's not in the top 5 that I think is going to be the best player or among this. It's Tre Johnson. Tre Johnson was a true freshman at Texas last year, and he led the nation in scoring. Not the Big 12,
right.
The nation in scoring. And I think he's a product of this being a really strong draft. Let me ask our resident Hawk here, if Tre Johnson, coming off the season he just had at Texas, was in the Zachary Richardson draft, do you think that Tre Johnson goes before Zach?
Yes. 100%.
100%.
And I
he
think that
does.
tells us a lot for a guy that you got at number 6.
Thank you guys so much for watching. That was really fun. I do want to come back in a year and talk about this, and I do want my brothers back on the show whenever we can.
It was fun.
It was fun. Thank you guys for coming. Thank you for watching. If you're still here, like, subscribe, and comment who you think will be the best player outside of the top 5 in this draft. Caw.
I met this little shawty from Nexus. She just took her food to go.
I don't know the words.
Hi, friend. Love you, man.
Perfect.
I'll
Love
try
you
it in a
guys.
while.
That was a fun day.
Let me know.
Another one
Yes,
next
sir.
time we're here.
No,
We should just make it.
every time
Yeah,
you
every time,
guys are
just-
here, I'm down.
Chop it for 15, 20 minutes every time.
Yes.
Anytime.
Let me know when you're ready to rake.
I'm down literally right when you get home.
I might forget that for a little while, and then I'm down.